I get to be the only maskless one here, at least temporarily. God, I didn't think I was going to cry, but here I go. I just can't believe how many people are here. I really thought we would have like 10 people. So thank you all so much. I think this is really a testimony to what a special lady Ursie was. That even in the middle of a pandemic, we can pull all these people out to celebrate her life. For those who don't know me, I'm Sue Fisher-Botsford. I'm Steve's daughter, and for the last 48 years, I've had the privilege of calling Ursie my stepmom. First, I just want to say, obviously, we're all in shock over the tragic circumstances that took Ursie from us far too soon. As difficult as this may be to reconcile, I know we're taking comfort in the fact that she didn't suffer. She went quickly to join those that she's loved and lost. It's also comforting to know that she left this earth doing something that she enjoyed. And I know, I think it was Sandy was sharing that she saw her, or someone had seen her right before they were heading out for their trip, and she was so excited to be breaking free and going out and doing something fun. For those who know her, she definitely had a sense of adventure. Before we launch into really celebrating her life, I'd love to start with a little prayer, if you would join me for a moment. Just some silence. So God, I come to you today with such sadness of heart at the sudden death of such a beloved wife, mother, sister, and friend who was snatched away from us in such a tragic way. Please bring comfort in this time of loss and lift up those who are in pain today. We trust in your power to comfort the hearts of those who are hurting. Surround us, Lord, with the light, love, and forgiveness, showing special care for Steve, family, and all the friends who are near and dear. Give them your peace and assurance that you are with them throughout all their pain. Pour the light of God's love into their hurting hearts. We trust in your ever-abundant love and know that Ursie is released today from her earthly body and is reunited with her mother, family, and friends who have gone before her. She is free from pain and will live forever in each of our hearts. Amen. Ursie was a beautiful soul. Who's in charge of the tissues? Please, sorry. It's a family trait, apparently. Ursie was a beautiful soul who brought light and laughter to any room. She was born October 4th, 1943 in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and then moved to Washington with her parents and her big sis, Marlene. Marlene loves to tell the story about how when Ursie was little and people would ask her name, she would reply, "My name is Itchy," because she couldn't say Ursie. Marlene also shared that she really fondly remembers her little sister, they are 7 years different, chasing her around on a tricycle and driving her completely crazy. Ursie was very energetic, as you all know, and that started at a very young age. She was also kind and very generous. She was always willing to drop everything and help a family member in need. Marlene recalled the time that Ursie was on the phone with her mom, who at the time was living in a very bad area in Seattle, and Ursie heard gunshots over the phone. And she stopped right then and there and decided that she needed to move her mom to be closer with her. So Steve's totally supportive of that. They dropped everything and they moved her, and who remembers B's 1963 Chevy Impala that became a family member? Yes, to be close to them. And what a gift that truly was for all of the family to be able to really spend those last years with B, and just what a delightful woman she was. If there was ever any doubt in my mind, Ursie is the love of Steve's life. And I have seen that more in the last week and a half. It all started on a volleyball court in Bellflower, California. For those of you that know how active Ursie was and how much she loves sports and being competitive, that probably doesn't surprise you that that's how they met. In 1971, Ursie was newly divorced with 2 young boys, and she had no idea how much her life was going to change when she just made that one little decision to join that park league at Sims Park. And so the story goes, Steve was also recently divorced and playing on a volleyball team, and they needed a setter. and someone said, I know this woman, she's super athletic. I think she'd be great. She could probably use a distraction because she also is going through a divorce. So Ursie joined the team, and Dad says she wowed them with her killer instincts on the court and her ability to set the ball exactly where it needed to be set. But I think she really wowed Dad even more with her beauty and her contagious personality. It wasn't long before the two were spending a lot more time together. In fact, Dad actually told us the other night that they used to go out after practice and make out in the parking lot. So it's a fun little fact. I think it's safe to say that at that point, Ursie stole Steve's heart. Once he met her, he was pretty, after his divorce, he was pretty active playing the field, but not after he met Ursie. That was it. He knew that she was the one. And I think we all can agree that Ursie was definitely up for a good time. So I know there's a lot of people here who have gone RVing and traveling with Dad and Ursie, but I'm not sure if anyone really knows their humble beginnings. So proof that Ursie was good and totally up for anything. Steve's idea of a romantic getaway in their early days was to pack up for a road trip to Mexico, to not to Anne-Marie and John's place, but instead to Mexico to watch some motorcycles race in the back, and he threw the kids in the back of the Datsun pickup truck. So as a parent, I'm really horrified as I'm like reliving this story, so like a little PTSD. But yeah, imagine that. You know what a Datsun, those little crappy Datsun pickups with a shell on the back, and threw the kids in the back, no air conditioning. Did I mention that? I still do. Now I know, like, I'll wake up sometimes in the middle of the night and just go like, and I think that's what I'm reliving, is that moment in the back of the Datsun. Anyway, but it was really the first time that we got to spend any time with Ursie, and Dad loves to tell the story about how on the ride home we stopped and Ursie went in to use the restroom, and he pulled the kids aside and said, so what do you think? And we said, we like her, she's really great. And he said, good, because I think I'm going to marry her. So that was the moment. So and so while Ursie was game for anything at that point, I really owe her a debt of gratitude for the fact that she upgraded our lifestyle. So we went from road trips in the back of the Datsun and tent camping and roughing it, and she motivated Dad to get his first RV, and it was back in the 70s, a Dodge chassis mount, 24 foot, which we thought was heaven compared to what we had been doing. And as you all know, they landed in a really nice 40-foot Class A Newmar rig, so that was great. And timeshares in Mexico, Hawaii, and I'm still trying to unravel anywhere else. If anyone does know where else they own timeshares, if you could let me know, that would be great. And as anyone who knows Ursie will attest, whether it's playing cards or on the court, Ursie was a fierce competitor. She moved on from volleyball and fell madly in love with tennis, to the extent where they actually even built a tennis court at their house. Her athletic abilities led her to much success, as well as many lifelong friendships. Ursie had a natural way of connecting with people and really making everyone feel comfortable regardless of the situation. She had a way of creating fun and making lifelong friends wherever she went. John and Jan Ritchie, their neighbors for the past 40 years, have shared fond memories of their 4th of July's and New Year's parties, weekly dinners and tennis matches. They could not ask for better neighbors and friends, and said they always knew that they could count on each other. Whether it was tennis, scuba diving, traveling in the RV, hitting the NASCAR circuit, square dancing, traveling the globe. Is anyone else exhausted just hearing that list? My God. Ursie and Steve were constant companions, sharing each other's passions and creating a large circle of friends and a lifetime of wonderful memories. Ursie always was the life of the party and was never shy about getting involved and helping to orchestrate the good times. She cultivated friends wherever she went and traveled all over the world, from Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Hawaii. I couldn't keep track, by the way. Scott, I'm sure that you guys can fill in a lot of those blanks for me. And she always incorporated their love of tennis, scuba, diving, and of course, does anyone know what hobby I left out? Shopping.
It wasn't Steve's hobby.
Yeah, it was not. Yeah, that's why I think the golf and the shopping were the other sides of the coin there. Ursie's dear friend and neighbor Sandy Cavender recalled their great shopping adventures during their travels from Melbourne, Australia to St. Martin, the Grand Cayman and especially to Maui to visit their favorite jeweler, Greg. She also shared that Ursie was not one to hold back, recalling the time the four of them, so Sandy, Max, my dad, and Ursie, were lounging around the pool, and Ursie thought it would be funny to flash Sandy to get a reaction. So she did say that fortunately she had her back to Max, which was fortunate for Ursie and Sandy, but not probably for Max. But anyway, she was always up for a good time. So with that, Max, do you want to come up and share? You feeling? Just gonna have Max share a few stories.
Well, as you already know, we had the incredibly good fortune of being the next door neighbors to Steve and Ursie for over 30 years. Better? Okay. And when we got that call from John Ritchie, the accident, it was a flood of memories and shock that it was one of the worst that I can ever recall. We've gone through albums, we've gone through mementos of our trips, as Susan was saying, from Australia to the mind just goes on. Even with the memories of these wonderful trips to Australia, the cruise to Russia, and all of those memories, the thing that I keep coming back to are the little subtle innocent things, like she was just saying, the thing that happened around the pool. Those are just things that were spontaneous. Another that I wanted to share with you that I hope will bring a smile to your face is there was a time we were coming back through San Juan security at the airport, and it was the custom when we would finish up a night where we were, or a place where we were staying, we'd clean out the refrigerator. And Steve decided there was a little tuna fish left over, and he made himself a sandwich and put it in a baggie and put it in his carry-on bag. Remember that, Steve? I hope you remember what happened next, because it was priceless. What was priceless was the fact that Ursie knew about it and tried to tell you, no, that's not going to work, because you're not going to be allowed to take any food through the airport. And we're standing in line, quite a long line, with a whole bunch of people with their bags in front of them and kicking them down as people moved up. And we looked at Ursie, and she had that crooked little, only magical grin that she can give that said, "Watch this." And what we saw was, here came the customs officer with his little dog coming the other way. And sure enough, the little dog was coming down. He was just cruising on by, and we got to Steve. He went up to his bag and laid down right in front of Steve's bag. And he decided, and the custom officer said that he had to get rid of the sandwich. Steve was having no part of it. He took the sandwich out of the bag and proceeded to eat that sandwich in front of us until every bite was gone. The little dog never took his eyeball off. Another one that comes to mind is one of the many dives that we had, and we'll come back to the dives in a second. But the one that will always be in my memory is the fabulous manta ray dive that we had off of Kona. There was about 40 of us that were down at night in about 60 feet of water, watching these magnificent creatures go after the plankton as a result of all the flashlights that we had down. And when we got done with the dive, everybody got back, and we split up, and the dive master had told us that the dive was being videotaped, and if we wanted to go back and watch it the next day, we could come into their shop. And sure enough, we all decided we wanted to go back and take a look at it again. And when we were in there watching this, little did we know that there was a free-swimming eel that was captured during that dive that literally swam right between Ursie's feet, and she never knew it. If you know anything about Ursie's relationship with snakes, it always crossed my mind that had she known that was taking place at the moment, it would not have been pretty. It would have been fun. Been fun, but not pretty. There's a couple of people that we've talked to since 14 days ago that wanted to be remembered right here, right now, at this moment. And one of them I know you remember, Steve, and that's Deb Hall. Deb was our dive master in Maui for countless dives. She was the one that ultimately certified you when we got certified in 1996, and it was. We tried to reconstruct how many dives over the years that we had gone to, and when I went through my dive journal, there was 98 dives recorded. All but 5 of those was with you and Ursie, and over 40 of those dives, Ursie was my dive buddy on that. Deb was your dive buddy, trying to keep up with you. We've talked on several occasions since our loss, and she just wants to be remembered. The other person that wants to be remembered today was Dennis Hogan. Dennis Hogan lived next. There was Stephen Ursie. We lived next door. John and Jen Ritchie across the street, and Dennis Hogan lived just catty corner. He left in 2000. Went back to Tennessee, and of all things, he and his new wife joined a motorhome club like you had, and they did that for 10 years. Then they came back and spent a while in San Juan Capistrano, and ultimately moved into a house directly across the street from a little executive golf course that I joined in 2008. Dennis joined it shortly after they moved there in 2010, and the Saturday following, getting the news of Ursie's loss, Dennis and I spoke, and he showed up about 20 minutes early at the golf course where we regularly played on Wednesdays and Saturdays. And we spent about 20 minutes just going over memories of Ursie and things that's happened with not only Ursie but you as well. One of the memories that he brought up that I had forgotten about, but when I think about it, I always smile, and that was, if you remember, we all had problems with gophers, but he had an exceptional problem with gophers. And this one day, we all got together and had the bright idea that one of the ways that we could maybe help eradicate them in his yard was take the old diesel van that you had, and we wrapped a hose around the exhaust pipe, and we stuck it down into the gopher hole and sealed it off and fired up that van. And what followed was fun. We wanted to make sure that you mentioned that. But let's get back to what happened the Saturday following Ursie's loss. I go off on my tee times about 15 minutes before he goes off in his. And when I came back, I was down in the little room where our computer is recording the score. And when I got done, I realized that I had shot the best round that I had ever shot since they had put in the new computer in 2012. And I didn't think much of it at that moment. About 15 minutes later, Dennis walked in, and I said, "How'd you do?" And he was all excited. He said, I had my first hole-in-one. I said, great, that's congratulations. What hole did you get it on? He said, number 8. And at that moment, there was something that went through me that I turned around. I turned around and went back on the little wall behind us to where anyone that gets a hole-in-one gets their name on a little plaque, the date, the yards of the hole, and the hole number, and I just pointed to it. It was number 8. It was where I had my hole-in-one as well. And it was just, we just looked at each other for a moment, and he said, oh. He said, what just happened here? And I walked away, and I didn't talk to him until the following day. I can tell you that neither one of us will ever walk on number 8 and not think of Ursie. I can't possibly tell you, Steve, what your friendship has meant over the years. It's beyond my capability. I just want you to know that I love you like a brother. My biggest regret right now is that there's nothing I can do to ease your pain right at the moment. But you're in here and always will be. Rest in peace, Doug, but
Thank you, Max. And then I think Lou, is Lou? Yeah, we're going to have Lou say a few words as well.
Got to be careful not to step on somebody's Halloween here. My name is Lou Huff, and I'm a member of the Southwestern Bus Nuts, commonly known as the Bus Nuts for a couple of reasons. One, when we started, there was a lot of converted buses. Now there are none. And because we're always little nuts, we had a good time. We went out, rallies 9 months a year together, and had a great time. Steve and Ursie are very good friends of ours, very, very close friends. Not as long as these, but a long time. And they've been bus nuts for many years. I don't know exactly, 12, 14, 15 years, I guess. A long time. Well, a lot of others that are around here right now. Ursie was a very loving, smiley person. Always jumped in to help wherever she could, and always volunteered to help no matter where we went. If it's okay, I'm going to tell you a little risque story. When they were trail bosses for a rally down in San Diego, they had a dessert that night, and she built these sticks with a round top on about this long, about the size of a hot dog, and gave one to everybody. And then she got this dough out. I don't know if it was kind of dough, and gave everybody dough. And the idea was to pull that dough down over that stick. So she's up demonstrating, pulling this dough, and everybody starts laughing for obvious reasons. It took her a while to catch on what's going on. It turned out good because you baked them and you filled them with whatever you wanted to fill them with, and they were really good. Remember those, Steve? Anyhow, everybody was laughing, and it took her a while to catch on, but she continued on with the task that she had, showing everybody what to do. She loved to come to the river. She loved to travel. And they came to the river, and they shared, I have to get it correct, their personal watercraft, which we always referred to as sea-doos, and got corrected by either Steve or Ursie all the time. These are not sea-doos, these are personal watercraft. So we have to be careful about doing that. But behind their back, we just all call them sea-doos when they went around. Every day we were down at the river, we'd watch her jump on that watercraft and take off like lightning. And you couldn't keep up with her. You went out with her, try and keep up with her, you couldn't. She loved being out there. Another thing, often, at least once a month, they would call us or we would call them because we lived close by. They said, let's have breakfast or lunch. We'd go meet them for breakfast or lunch. And we would hear about their travels here and there. I don't think they ever stayed home.
No.
If you listen to the stories, they all never stayed home. They were gone someplace. And one of the big rallies we have was out in Indio in January. It's a Family Motor Coach Association and the Western Motorhome Association, which our group always sponsored the volunteer dinner and the vendor party for many years, I think 15 years for Lois and I. And they would come and they'd sometimes be over with the Tiffin group at a nearby park, but they would come over and they would always dive in and help. And we had a great time. And in fact, we just retired from that this year ourselves after 15 years doing it. And because we're all getting old. So anyhow, they all these travels they did, we heard about them. We heard about the Australian trip, and we heard about various other things. And about her love for travel, both of their love for travel. The last thing I want to say is this accident was a terrible accident. But I remember how much she loved the river and how much she liked to be out there and share both themselves and their personal watercraft to anybody and everybody that wanted to do it. And we're going to miss her a lot. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to close with a little poem. It's called I Am Free. I think it's really fitting for this moment and for Ursie. Don't grieve for me, for now I'm free. I'm following paths that God made for me. I took his hand, I heard him call, then turned and bid farewell to all. I could not stay another day to laugh, to love, to sing, to play. Tasks left undone must stay that way. I found my peace at close of play. And if my parting left a void, then fill it with remembered joy. A friendship shared, a laugh, a kiss, and yes, these things I will to miss. Be not burdened deep with sorrow. I wish you sunshine of tomorrow. My life's been full, I've savored much. Good friends, good times, a loved one's touch. Perhaps my time seemed all too brief. Don't lengthen it now with grief. Lift up your hearts and share with me. God wants me now, he set me free. Thank you all so much for coming. I wish we were having some great party, but in the time of COVID and our concern for everyone's safety, that's not what's going to happen today. So again, thank you all for coming. And I think, Wendy, do you want to, we're going to do a flower ceremony. So I'll let Wendy tell what's going to happen because I'm not exactly sure. Do I just invite, are you going to talk? Oh, perfect. If you didn't sign the guest book, I would invite you to do that and leave your email. We're going to send out, Troy, Ursie's son, put together a beautiful slideshow that we'd love to share with folks, so we can send a link to that. And then we'll also, it looks like we have several videos going of today, so we'll also be able to send you if you wanted to share that with anyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the conclusion of the service of your loved one. As a final tribute, we'll be doing the tribute of flowers, which is we'll be placing a flower on top of the casket of your loved one as a lovely tribute to her, just like she did put a lot of love in your heart. You can now put a little bit of love and she can take it with her. Once again, I want to thank you, all of you, for showing your love and support. Please do not forget to sign the memorial book and please put your email after. And once again, thank you so much. As soon as you're ready, you can come forward and grab the flower that is here in this table and place it on top of your loved one's casket. And that will be the conclusion of the service. And once again, thank you so much. The family will not be witnessing anything beyond this point, so there will not be a reception due to COVID. And thank you so much for understanding, for being so patient, and for being here. Thank you.